Eminem cosplays as God. The Straw Hats stumble into another civil war. And low-key, the Sky People are the real villain.
I said what I said!
This is the most underrated arc in One Piece, and it might literally hold the key to the entire plot of the show. Oda put everything right in our face. What's good? I'm Coco Sensei. I do anime and manga related content, reviews, and occasionally talk about Jesus.
Wait a minute!
If you're new, welcome. Get a snack and sit down because we got a lot to talk about. Today we're doing a recap of the Skypiea arc of One Piece. I'm rewatching the series from the beginning in light of some new developments in the story, and I realized how key certain moments were that I never paid attention to. I plan on doing recaps of every arc of One Piece and some other anime, so remember to like and subscribe and stay tuned. This arc starts with the crew fresh off their victory in Alabasta. Robin is now on board and everyone has adjusted to her presence. While sailing, they see a ship fall from the sky and notice that the log post is pointing upward. Nami thinks it's broken, but Robin reminds her that the only thing you can trust in the Grand Line is the log post. Luffy also finds a map from the debris that fell from the ship. The map says Skypiea, so everyone is excited to learn more about the possibility of an island in the sky. The monster trio dives into the water to gather clues, and while they're under, they meet some interesting people. Shenanigans happen, and the crew make it to the island of Jaya and dock in a port city called Mocktown. Now, Mocktown is pretty wild. There's pirates everywhere, people are fighting and dying in the streets. We're subtly introduced to the Blackbeard pirates and the Don Quixote pirates. Luffy, Nami, and Zoro go off to find information about the Sky Island and end up in a situation with Bellamy and his crew. They're pirates who base their strength on their bounty numbers and are arrogant and proud and just some lames all around. Bellamy tries to goad Luffy into a fight to see how strong he is. But Nami is still trying to get info about the Sky Islands, and then the whole bar laughs at them. Bellamy starts talking crazy about pirates who believe in dreams and how they're ridiculous and this and that. In hindsight, this is where Luffy levels up and confirms what type of man and pirate he is. He tells Zoro not to fight back, and he lets Bellamy fight them. They get beat up because they don't fight back, and Nami's had enough, so they leave, and they see a stranger from the bar earlier, Blackbeard, and he tells them that Sky Island is real, and that the only real pirates are the ones who dream. Real recognize real in this moment, but then they go their separate ways. Once back on the ship, Robin comes in clutch with some information, and they head to the opposite side of the island to meet a certain man. They arrive at a peculiar house and find a book about Montblac Noland. He was an adventurer who made many discoveries. On one of his adventures, he found a city of gold. When he went back to tell his king, the king decided to go see for himself. It was a hard voyage and many didn't make it. And when they got there, it seemed like it was just a regular jungle. Noland was confused and said the city of gold must have sunk into the sea. Noland was sentenced to death and known for being a liar after that.
That's rough, buddy.
Cricket Noland, Montblac's descendant, sees these strangers and pops out of the water ready to fight, but passes out because he's been diving so much. Chopper gets him together. Then the brothers from before show up, and they all have a feast and talk about dreams and Noland and the Sky Island. Cricket and the brothers then decide to fix the Going Merry and help them get up the knock-up stream that might lead to Skypiea. Then he sends the crew to find a Southbird that they'll need for their trip up the knock-up stream. The crew leaves, and then Bellamy appears and beats up Cricket and the brothers and takes their gold. Once the Straw Hats catch the bird and they come back, they see what happened. Luffy's pissed, so he runs back to town to fight and get the gold back. When he gets there, Bellamy was steady talking real crazy, but Luffy wasn't about all that talking.
As you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're gonna find out.
Bellamy was trying to show off, but Luffy hit him in one punch, and it was all over. Meanwhile, the government is making moves. See, this is the first time we're introduced to the Gorosei, which are the 5 elders who run the world government. They meet to discuss who's going to fill that new warlord spot since Crocodile is done for. So they have a meeting where 3 warlords show up: Kuma, Doflamingo, and Hawkeye. Then some weird dude somehow got through security and starts tap dancing, talking about he knows a guy. Turns out he's a member of the Blackbeard pirates, and apparently Blackbeard is making some unseen moves right now. Cut back to the Straw Hats, where the brothers are helping to fix the Going Merry, and eventually they all head up the knock-up stream. Things happen. They end up flying through the clouds all the way up to the White Sea. A guerrilla warrior tries to attack them, but they're saved by the Sky Knight Gonfall. Words are exchanged, and then they go through a strange gate up a river of clouds called the Milky Road and make it up to the White Sea, even higher in the sky. There they meet Conus and her father. They invite them to dinner to their house, and this is where we learn more about Dials and the god of Skypiea, Inaru. Whole time they doing that, Nami is messing around with the waiver and ends up seeing some stuff she ain't had no business seeing in the upper yard. Now let's break this down. The upper yard is a piece of land from the blue sea that blew up in the sky. The sky islands are made of certain types of clouds, so the sky people regard any type of earth as sacred. The Shandians originally lived on the upper yard, but when it blew into the sky people colonized it and took it for themselves. For 400 years, they have been fighting to get their land back. Currently, they're being led by the warrior Wiper, who is the definition of on-site. And he be tripping a little. Well, really, he be tripping a lot. But he's not wrong. So, reminder, he was the one who attacked the Straw Hats in the beginning, but was stopped by the Sky Knight. Speaking of which, the Sky Knight Gonfall used to be the god of Skypiea. But then Inaru popped up some years ago after destroying his hometown, the Sky Island Burka, and took over. He and his priests deliver their kind of justice and are in control now. Inaru has 4 priests who directly report to him. Om, the priest of the Ordeal of Iron. Satori, the priest of the Ordeal of Balls. Gidetsu, the priest of the Ordeal of the Swamp. And Shura, the priest of the Ordeal of Stream. So honestly, this is the only arc where the Straw Hats just happen to stumble into other people's business, which they have no dog in the fight of their own. They really just want to go on an adventure, and now they're dealing with aliens and revolution and all types of mess. Anyway, after eating and learning about the island, the police pop up, saying everyone is guilty of every single crime you can imagine. To which Luffy, he ends up beating them up. But that leads to some of the crew being separated. Nami, Chopper, Robin, and Zoro are tricked, kidnapped, and taken to the upper yard, while Sanji, Usopp, and Luffy go to rescue them. Once on the upper yard, Zoro, Nami, and Robin go to explore, while Chopper stays with the ship. All while Luffy, Usopp, and Sanji are fighting for their life against Satori, one of Inaru's priests. Like, they're struggling, okay? They struggle for a while, but eventually they win. While that's going on, Nami discovers that the upper yard is actually the piece of Jaya that didn't sink, but flew into the sky, which means the city of gold must be there too. Meanwhile, Chopper is confronted by the priest Shura and is forced to call the Sky Knight. Struggles ensue, okay? But then everything works out. Once everybody is back together, they each give their intel and decide to go treasure hunting the next day. They party with some drunk wolves and it's a good time. The next day they set out, and everything goes wrong. First off, the Shandians use this mayhem with the Straw Hats even being there as the opportunity to launch their latest rebellion. Because all of that is going on, Itaru starts plotting and sends out his people to fight. And then Luffy and everybody get separated because of all the mayhem. Shenanigans happen. Luffy gets stuck in a snake. Inaru demonstrates his power over and over again, where he's literally beating everybody's ass. There's no two ways about it. Chopper, Zoro, and Wiper, they get their licks in, but then everybody that's not Inaru gets their ass beat at one point or another. Nami is doing her best, and then finally Luffy shows up to fight. But because Inaru been out here whooping on people, he gets real cocky. And at this point, he goes in for the kill when Luffy shows up. But he has no effect on Luffy because Luffy is made of rubber, which makes him pretty much the natural enemy of Inaru, who is a lightning man. This shakes him up, but they keep fighting. And one of my favorite lines of this arc is when Nami is freaking out on the arc that Inaru had the Skypeans building for him so he could go conquer other lands. But they're on this boat, and Luffy has this very real I'm him moment and says, "Stop frowning. You're on the crew of the future Pirate King." Which was just so badass to me, because it's like, girl, why are you scared? Do you not remember who we are? Luffy gets a good upper hand during the fight, but of course Inaru comes back and sends Luffy flying. A lot is happening at this point in the story. Inaru has revealed his plan to destroy all the Sky Islands. And Conus overheard it, so she runs back to her town to tell people to run. Dark clouds start covering the sky, and lightning is destroying buildings. So of course now is the perfect time that they slip in the real history of Noland and Kagura, the ancestors of the Shandians. So Noland is an explorer who ends up at Jaya. A bunch of stuff happens that could literally be avoided by basic communication. And although Noland was trying to help, he was wildly disrespectful in his approach to helping. So it kept rubbing the Shandians the wrong way. The Shandians discover that Noland, he was trying to help them. So while Noland is setting out to leave, they ended up wishing him well and tell him to come back one day. Noland goes back to his hometown in the North Blue and tells the king about his adventures, and the king wants to set sail with him. Meanwhile, the Shandians are knocked up into the sky, and the evil sky people start a war over it. Then after a long, hard voyage, Noland comes back to Jaya, but it's now gone. Noland is accused of lying, and his life is ended in obscurity. It's very sad. So cut back to Skypiea, and things are really just not going well. Luffy is struggling to get up to where Inaru is. The Straw Hats and everyone in general are looking rough. Inaru finds the golden bell that everyone had been looking for. He destroys Angel Island, and is just really feeling himself at this point because his plans really have worked out for the most part. But of course, after many shenanigans, Luffy finally gets back and touches Inaru, all while knocking the bell down so that it'll ring. It's super emotional. We get to see that the sound reaches all of these islands and also back down to Jaya where Cricket was waiting and sitting. The day is saved. Robin finds another poneglyph with a very interesting inscription on it from Goldie Roger. They party for days, they steal some gold, and then they head back to the Blue Sea. Now obviously this is a recap, so I'm not going into extreme detail with every little thing, but this is one of those arcs that people like to skip over, but you really shouldn't. This is the first time we meet the Gorosei. You know, we see the meeting of the Warlords. Blackbeard and his crew are introduced, and the idea of hockey is introduced by the priests using mantra, which is pretty much like a different type of form of hockey if we're being honest. Also, the idea of sky people opens up the universe of One Piece as well. The planet that this story takes place on is not the only place where humanoid creatures live. The Shandians are a race of people from the moon who just happened to settle on Jaya. This is completely overlooked, and I, for one, think that's very interesting and might hold the key to a bigger part of the story as a whole. If you're into One Piece theories, definitely stay tuned and check out all of my other videos on the channel. Comment below your favorite parts of Jaya and the Skypiea arc. If you want more videos like this, remember to like and subscribe. And turn on that notification bell so you know when I'm dropping that brand new hot shit. I'm Jess, aka Coco Sensei, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Love you guys.